Our older daughter really likes tomato plants. She plants 2 or 3 or 4 every year and puts them in pots and in the ground and just kind of all over our backyard. And she grows tomatoes for us, and they're really good when they're in season. But then comes that moment, that sad moment, when we have to move her back to college. And Dad, you're in charge of my tomato plants. So I'm in charge, what? And then she'll come home on a weekend and say, Dad, you're not doing a very good job with my tomato plants. And I want to say, your tomato plants? You left them with me. They're my tomato plants. So this year I decided I'm just going to put them in pots and send them off to college with her and see how it goes. Well, maybe not, but the thought had crossed my mind. Now, when we talk about leading and disciple-making ministry, it can be a very draining endeavor. There's just kind of a grind to it, a routine, studying and meeting people's needs and putting things on your calendar and just more obligation. And what happens is we can really be fatigued, can't we? All the nutrients in our soul can just drain away. And what happens? We become ineffective, and then we become ineffective and burnt out, and after we get burnt out, we quit. And if we're burnt out really bad, then we just kind of set the whole thing aside, and we say, wow, that was fine for a season, but I'm really done with that. Well, Jesus, when he was talking to his disciples and getting ready to commission them, to send them out into the world, to take other people through the process he took them through, he reminded them of an important truth that you and I need to remember. Now let's look at this verse from John chapter 15. Here Jesus says, "Remain in me, and I will remain in you. No branch can bear fruit by itself. It must remain in the vine. Neither can you bear fruit unless you remain in me." The I is silent. I am the vine, and you are the branches. If a man remains in me, and I in him, he will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. There, Jesus was telling his disciples, look, when you lead, it's going to be tough. When you invest yourselves in the lives of others, it's going to be draining. And if you're not careful, you can wither. And Jesus says, what's the answer? To stay connected to me. There is a real important component of the time you spend as a disciple maker in taking care of yourself. That old book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, said, sharpen the saw. Before you go and chop down a forest, take a few minutes to sharpen the saw. It will make life a lot easier. Or the same thing when we're flying on an airplane, right? They tell us that if the cabin suddenly depressurizes and the masks drop, put your own mask first, and then those of your kids and anybody you might be traveling with. Take care of yourself first. And I think that goes with energy and sleep and exercise and nutrition, and most especially keeping our own spiritual tank full. And sometimes that seems like a bother. We just want to take the shortcut and move forward with the meeting or move forward with the lesson. But Jesus reminds us that is a short-term shortcut. You will wither if you don't remain strong in Christ. So a good time for an inventory. How are you doing on self-care? Is your tank running low? Do you need to re-engage in some habits that maybe you've walked away from? Do you need to reorganize your time so that you're able to spend time with the Lord? He will fill us. And as we are filled, we overflow into the lives of others and make a difference for all eternity. Take care of yourselves. You're important. You're doing great things for God. Thanks for all you do.